There's a video somewhere on YouTube, you've probably already seen it, where a guy with a perfectly trimmed beard and a $400 backpack opens his bug-out bag like it's a Christmas morning unboxing. Molly pouches color-coordinated, gear tags still attached, a folding shovel so clean it's never touched dirt in its life. And at the end, he closes the bag with this satisfied nod, like he just solved survival. Like if the grid went down tomorrow, that bag would carry him through it. Here's the thing. I used to think the same way. Most of us did. The gear looks right, the list makes sense on paper, and there's something genuinely comforting about the idea that the right shopping cart could stand between you and catastrophe. That feeling is real. It's just not preparation. Have you ever carried a heavy backpack for a few hours straight? Not hiking, just moving through stress, and felt your brain just shut down? That slow, creeping fog where decisions that should take seconds start taking minutes. That's not weakness, that's biology. And it's the first thing that will kill you in a real evacuation, long before dehydration or exposure ever gets the chance. Because when researchers went back after Katrina, after the campfire, after Harvey, when they sat down with the people who actually walked out alive, the picture they got looked almost nothing like what gets sold to you online. The gap between influencer advice and survivor reality is so wide it almost feels like two completely different conversations about two completely different worlds. This video is the second conversation. Let's start with weight, because weight is where almost every first-time bag fails, and it fails in the most predictable direction possible. The fully loaded tactical fantasy bag, the one that checks every box on every forum list, typically runs between 45 and 65 pounds. The people who build these bags will tell you with complete confidence that a fit adult can handle it. They're not entirely wrong. A fit adult can handle it for about 4 miles on flat ground in mild weather before their hips start talking and their thinking starts slipping. Now put that same person in a real evacuation. It's the middle of the night. The air smells like smoke or chemicals or both. There's no flat ground. There's debris, crowd pressure, a child you're trying to keep up with, a road that got blocked, so now you're cutting through a field. And you haven't slept properly in 2 days because the situation was escalating before it finally broke. That 55-pound bag isn't uncomfortable anymore. It is a direct threat to your survival. The U.S. Army's own load carriage research, studies designed specifically to understand how weight degrades soldiers in the field, found that cognitive performance starts slipping measurably at loads exceeding 30% of body weight and drops sharply after that. Not just physical performance, cognitive performance, your ability to read a situation, change a plan, recognize danger early, and make the call that actually keeps you alive. For most adults, that threshold lands around 45 pounds, and that's for trained soldiers who do this for a living. The rest of us hit that wall much sooner. And here's what happened when civilians faced the same load in a real emergency. In the aftermath of Katrina, a man named Marcus Williams, a school maintenance worker from the lower Ninth Ward, evacuated on foot for 2 days with his wife and her elderly mother. He had prepared a bag the year before based on a survival forum checklist. It weighed 58 pounds. By hour 6, his wife was pulling items out of it and leaving them on the road. His shoulders were cramping. His pace had dropped from a brisk walk to a shuffle. He told interviewers later, with the kind of flat honesty that only comes after surviving something real, that he almost didn't make it because of how much he had packed. The irony was not lost on him. He had prepared specifically so he would be ready, and the preparation itself nearly broke him. Field consensus among emergency management professionals and survival instructors with genuine deployment experience lands consistently between 20 and 35 pounds for a 72-hour bag, and the upper end assumes good physical conditioning and a demanding route. The bag has to fit the person carrying it, not the person you plan to be, the person you actually are, on your worst day, under maximum stress. Now here's where the survivor data gets genuinely uncomfortable, because it challenges not just the gear, but the entire mental model most prepper content is built on. There are two completely different disasters hiding inside the phrase bug out scenario. The first is a short duration evacuation. Get out of a burning city, reach a shelter, survive 72 hours. This is what Katrina was for most survivors. This is what the campfire was. This is what most disasters actually look like for most people who experience them. The second is a long-duration collapse where you're genuinely living off the land for weeks or months. These two scenarios have almost nothing in common in terms of what they demand from you, and most bug-out bag content mashes them together into a Frankenstein kit that serves neither one well. Everything from here changes depending on which scenario you're actually preparing for, and most people never stop to ask that question. For the 72-hour evacuation, which is statistically what you are most likely to face, the tools that survivor testimonials return to again and again are almost embarrassingly mundane. Cash, a working phone with a car charger, copies of critical documents in a waterproof sleeve, medications, comfortable broken-in walking shoes, a change of clothes, food that requires zero preparation, water you can drink right now. That is the list. Not a tactical tomahawk, not a Faraday cage. Cash, documents, medications, shoes, food, water. The things that keep you moving, keep you legal, and keep your body functional until the immediate chaos resolves. Water is the category where the gap between influencer advice and survivor reality is widest. The standard recommendation is a quality filter plus purification tablets plus a collapsible container. Smart advice in a wilderness scenario. But in an urban evacuation, that setup hides an assumption that you will have raw water sources you actually need to filter. In Katrina, in the campfire, in Harvey, survivors who reached safety within 72 hours did not filter water from streams. They bought it from gas stations, received it at shelters, or simply carried it from home in regular plastic water bottles. What people consistently wish they had more of was water they could drink right now, without stopping, without equipment, without any system at all. Leave with as much water as you can carry without slowing yourself down. Know where resupply points fall on your route, and treat the filter as the last resort. For longer scenarios, past 72 hours, away from infrastructure, a quality filter becomes one of the most critical tools in your bag, but only if you actually know how to use it, maintain it, and source water that won't destroy the membrane. Gear plus ignorance is not preparation, it's just a heavier bag. Food follows the same logic. Freeze-dried meals are lightweight, shelf-stable, and genuinely impressive in a long-term base camp scenario. They are largely useless in a fast-moving evacuation where you have no clean water for rehydration and no margin to wait 15 minutes for a meal to reconstitute. What survivors actually ate was whatever they could get down while moving. Protein bars, crackers, peanut butter, jerky, whatever came from a gas station shelf. The caloric goal in a short evacuation is not performance nutrition, it is cognitive maintenance, enough fuel to keep making decent decisions under pressure. Once you have a stable base, a fire, and time to actually sit, freeze-dried meals earn their place completely, but in a cache, not on your back during the run. First aid is where almost everyone gets it wrong in one of two directions. The drugstore kit full of bandages that has never been opened, or the over-engineered trauma kit with tourniquets and chest seals and hemostatic gauze that its owner has never once practiced using. I took a Stop the Bleed course a few years back. 2 hours completely free. And what surprised me was not the techniques themselves, which are straightforward once you see them demonstrated. What surprised me was how completely useless that awareness would have been without the physical repetition. Packing a wound correctly requires muscle memory. You have to do it on a practice pad, under someone watching, multiple times, before it becomes something your hands can do under pressure. Watching a YouTube video about it is not the same, not even close. A tourniquet applied wrong causes severe nerve and tissue damage without stopping the bleed. The gear without the training is not a safety net. It is a liability that feels like one. Below the trauma level, the medical items that appeared most consistently in survivor accounts are the ones nobody puts in an unboxing video. Blister treatment, pain medication, prescriptions, anti-diarrheal medicine, antihistamines, electrolyte packets. Blister-induced mobility loss has ended evacuations that actual danger did not. Untreated diarrhea has caused critical dehydration within 24 hours. The boring supplies address the failure modes that actually occur. Now, the category that almost never appears in prepper content but showed up in survivor testimony after testimony as the single biggest practical oversight: documents. Imagine surviving the flood, the fire, the collapse, walking out alive, reaching safety, only to lose everything again in paperwork hell. That is exactly what happened to a woman named Denise Alcoin after Katrina. She made it to a shelter in Baton Rouge with her 2 kids and a small bag she had thrown together in 20 minutes. She was alive. She was safe. And then the second nightmare began, slower and more grinding than the first. FEMA needed proof of residency she did not have. Her insurance company needed a policy number she could not recall. Her bank could not verify her identity to release her own money. For nearly 2 weeks, she had no financial access whatsoever because she could not prove on paper who she was or what she owned. She said later that surviving the storm was the easy part. The paperwork nearly broke her. A waterproof document sleeve weighs almost nothing and should contain physical copies of your identification, insurance policies, bank account information, property records, medical records and prescriptions, children's documents, your passport, and emergency contacts written by hand, because your phone might be dead, broken, or gone at a checkpoint. One encrypted USB drive with digital copies of everything fits in a coin pocket. Together, they take up less space than a deck of cards and carry more survival value per gram than almost anything else in the bag. They almost never appear in the unboxing videos. That gap alone tells you everything about the difference between content designed to look like preparedness and preparation that actually works. Here is the principle that ties all of this together. The one that experienced preppers, the ones who have been doing this for decades and field-tested their bags under real pressure, return to consistently. James Rowles, one of the most cited voices in serious preparedness literature, has said it plainly. The most dangerous thing in a bug-out bag is gear you have never used, because unused gear is weight you cannot justify and the false confidence you cannot afford. Think about that for a second. Every item bought based on a video and never touched again is not neutral weight. It is actively misleading you about your own readiness. It makes the bag feel complete when the skills it assumes do not exist yet. A woman named Lisa evacuated the campfire with less than 20 minutes of warning. She had built her bag 2 years earlier with guidance from a retired firefighter neighbor. It weighed 22 pounds. Food, a water filter, her medications, a laptop with her financial records, a first aid kit she had trained to use, a change of clothes, a car charger. She drove through a wall of fire on a single-lane road for 45 minutes. She said in an interview that the only thing she actually reached for from that bag during the evacuation itself was her phone and her charger. Everything else was insurance she was enormously grateful to have when she finally stopped. The bag did not save her. Her preparation of mind, her familiarity with the route, and her neighbor's guidance saved her. The bag supported that. There's a meaningful difference between those two things, and most prepper content never bothers to make it. This is the truth most prepper content will never say plainly. Gear must match skills. Every item in your bag should correspond to something you have actually practiced doing under pressure. If you have never started a fire with a ferro rod in the rain, you don't get to pack one and call yourself prepared. You get to pack it as a reminder that you still have homework to do. If you have never navigated by compass in terrain you don't know, the compass is just weight. The bag is support infrastructure for capabilities you already have. It cannot create them. And support infrastructure that slows you down or confuses you under pressure does not support you. It buries you. The last piece goes deepest, and it's the one that individualist mythology of prepper culture resists the hardest. Sociologist Lee Clark, who has spent decades studying how people actually behave in disasters rather than how we imagine they will, found something now replicated across study after study. Survival rates and mass casualty events correlate more strongly with social connection than with individual gear. People who knew their neighbors, who had informal networks, who had practiced even casual mutual aid, these people consistently outperformed isolated individuals with superior equipment.
The reason is not complicated. Disasters are logistically overwhelming. No single person can anticipate every failure point or carry every solution on their back. A network distributes that load. One neighbor has a truck, another has medical training, a third knows an alternate route. Together, they cover gaps that no single bag ever could. In the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in Japan in 2011, in the 1995 Chicago heat wave, in disaster after disaster across cultures and continents, the people who navigated the worst outcomes were not the ones with the best bags. They were the ones who had somewhere to go and someone who knew they were coming. No amount of gear gives you that. Only relationships do. And this is not an argument against building a bag. It's an argument against the ideology that sometimes grows around the bag, the belief that individual preparation is sufficient. The goal is to outlast everyone else rather than navigate the crisis alongside the people around you. That ideology is not just practically wrong, it makes you paranoid and isolated in exactly the moment when paranoia and isolation will get you killed. So here's the honest version of the bug-out bag. Keep it between 20 and 35 pounds. Load it with water you can drink right now, food you can eat while moving, your medications, your documents, a first aid kit you know how to use, cash, a charged phone, broken-in shoes, and a weather layer. Build it around the disaster you are most likely to face, not the one that makes the best thumbnail. And then, this is the part that matters more than anything else in the bag. Go wear it this weekend. 5 miles on a terrain that isn't flat. See what starts to hurt. See what you actually reach for. See what you packed and will never use. The bag you have carried on your back for 5 hard miles will save your life. The bag you built from a list and never opened again is just an expensive way to feel ready without being ready. That guy with the $400 backpack and the color-coordinated mole pouches, the bag alone is not going to save him. But a 25-pound bag he's actually worn, tested, and stripped down to what he truly needs, that one might. The person carrying the bag is always more important than what's in it. Build that first.